Not yet.
So usually this screen goes on for me and it's not on. So,
We are on.
yeah, I'm not getting a screen, so. Okay. We're all set. This is the Planning Commission meeting to be held Tuesday, March 14th, 2023 at 6 p.m. The time is now 6:03. Could you do a roll call?
Alderperson Kastner.
Present.
Steve Rogers is excused. Brian Weiss excused. Don Carlson.
Present.
Zach Marshall excused. Bob Krenz.
Present.
Mike Braswell.
Present.
And Mayor Nysky.
Present. So the way that works, Mike Braswell, our alternate, is a voting member tonight, and we do have a quorum. So item 2, approve the minutes from February 14th. Entertain a motion to approve
I'll make a motion to approve.
by
I'll second.
Carlson, second by Braswell. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed, motion carries. Discussion regarding last common council.
We don't have any public hearings.
Okay, item 4, temporary signage plan appeal for the former Sears Auto Building located 5200 South 76th Street, submitted by Scott Miller. Is he here tonight?
No, I don't think they were going to come.
Okay. Doing business as Fast Signs Greenfield and Helen Kutach, I don't know. Also at Fast Signs of Houston. You want to go?
Yeah, they're proposing 2 larger temporary banners. The sign code allows 32 square feet as far as signage and only 30 days, 4 times a year. What they're proposing are 2 140 square foot for lease signs. It's a large building. For lease signs like this are typically larger than our code allows. Signs would go to the west and south elevations, and staff recommends approval that they can stay up until the property is leased.
That'll be, yeah, that building's been dark.
I'd like to make a motion to deny. I see no reason why it needs to be so blatant, and I don't want to set a standard when the next person comes in with whatever goes in there, that it's just guaranteed that they're going to have that much signage. Nonetheless, I give it to them, but I'd want them to ask for the correct signage as opposed to creating this signage norm.
What about the length of time? You're fine with the length of time?
They can still put up a typical for lease sign. That's your standard size. I think everyone born yesterday knows this building's for lease. And if they're gonna, whoever's gonna lease it isn't gonna be driving by it. But that's just my opinion.
I don't know, I would recommend approval as long as it's not for a long period of time. I mean, that's been sitting empty forever. It'd be nice to get something in there, I think.
And it's very far off the street, I think, so.
No, that's relative, right? As far as off the street.
Do we need a second
What
motion
does
from
staff
Carl?
think?
I'm sorry.
What did staff, did they
They
recommend?
recommend
amended?
approving it.
Can they make it smaller? Is there some type of compromise? Or does it blend in everything else and look like green? Damn.
It's up to you guys, I don't care.
I guess I'm the only
The
one with that
motion,
opinion.
someone made a motion, is
There's no one
there a
seconded
second?
it. No.
Motion dies for lack of second. Does somebody else want to make a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve.
Okay. I don't think you want it necessarily permanent,
No.
6 months and reapply in 6 months or something, right?
Yeah, it's gotta be a period of time.
That's
This
a
is
banner, so
4
these things fall
temporary
apart and they.
Permits per year.
What?
It says 4 temporary permits per year, and let's say the temporary sign shall expire after 30 days, so it won't be up there that long, but at least,
That's what the code says.
So
They're,
what are
they're
they
asking to keep it up until the property's leased, which
Oh.
could be 10 years from now. I mean,
I would say maybe, 6 months?
6 months and they can ask again.
I say
And we
3
can-
months.
and we can
Are
extend
they,
for
are
another.
they gonna improve on the artwork or the graffiti on the front? or
Yeah,
no?
so the good news is that Seritage used to own this property, which was, the guy was known as Fast Eddie. He was the former CEO of Sears. And he basically bought all of Sears' assets and then was fined $40 million and said, well, that's terrible, I'll pay it. So Seritage owned the property. Seritage has just sold the property and its interest here and at Southridge Mall, so these guys are new, new landlords, I guess, or owners of the property, so I suspect that there'll probably be better responsiveness to the site than there has been historically with the new ownership. But I think the 6 months is a good thing to keep them in check, so let's do it that way. And they can come back, and if everything's cool with staff, it can be extended another 6 months. Does that sound good?
Yep.
So somebody make that motion?
I did.
Carlson made that motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Krantz. All in favor?
Aye.
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 I opposed.
And Kastner's opposed. Okay.
You don't know what's
I
up
see where
with
you're
me.
coming from.
Yeah, what are you gonna do?
And they do need to take care of the graffiti, although it may have already been taken care of, I'm not sure. Sorry, my screen is cracked, so I'm trying to not have it crash on me. Okay, we're on 5A, right? 5A, special use permit for weatherization services LLC, proposed weatherization contractor located at 10941 West Layton Avenue, as well as the site landscaping and architectural plans. You guys are here tonight, right? That's you guys. Go ahead.
Thank you,
This
Mr.
is the
Mayor.
old trucking terminal?
Yep, they were here before, previously.
Yeah, December, this item was before the Plan Commission. The Plan Commission asked the applicant to go back and work on some improvements and more details on the site and landscaping and architectural plans. They provided feedback, and there was lots of dialogue between the applicant and the Plan Commission. Mr. Hawthorne has purchased this property. He would use the property about 4,000 square feet for office and about 11,000 square feet for warehouse space for his contractor business. This property is zone C4, which permits drywall and insulation contractors. As a special use permit, there would be a public hearing required. The applicant would have about 47 employees, and he has started a business in 2008 and has the current business further east, closer to Lake Michigan. Over 20 years of management experience, and the proposed hours would be 7 to 5 daily. So I think we're all aware of the condition of the site. Mr. Hawthorne has provided plans for extensive improvements to the site, and it will no longer look this way. With a deteriorated parking lot, the site's been vacant for a few years, and then Honda used it temporarily as parking for their vehicles. So here we have the new site and landscaping plan. The Plan Commission asked specifically for these landscape bump outs to block the view of the overhead doors and, the building as you go further south. So the plan is to remove asphalt down to the base and repave, remove and resurface the concrete, removal of dead trees, garbage on the site, new sidewalk along the west side of the office building, and new landscaping along Layton Avenue and the eastern property line as well. The red highlighted areas is where there's going to be removal of asphalt and gravel to be replaced with lawn and landscaping behind the building in the back area as well. So again, just further details of the bump outs and the increased landscaping that they're proposing. Alderperson Kastner, I think you specifically had asked for those bump outs to, for aesthetic purposes and to hide the view and possibly, trucks and vehicles that are parked in the back. So these are some renderings of the new improvements with landscaping, mature landscaping eventually, and improvements, painting of the loading dock area. So again, just some highlights. So this retaining wall will be partially removed, and we'll go into a little bit further detail. But again, the applicant just provided, pictures of existing conditions that will be removed and cleaned up throughout the property. So the loading docks architectural change is to replace all the overhead doors and to paint the white CMU on the warehouse to black, and then clean and maintain the brick and aluminum eaves. So the new overhead doors will be replaced and will be kind of a white color to blend in with the building. And then again, they're going to paint the upper eave there. So we went through some extensive engineering review with the new plan. There's a history of flooding on the properties to the east. The restaurant along, what is that? What's the name of the Greek restaurant there? Sorry, is it?
Omega?
Omega, thank you. Omega has.
Forum.
Oh, Forum, yeah. Has had
Omega Forum.
significant flooding in their parking lot. The way this is graded, the flow is everything's going to the east. It's pitched naturally. That's just the way that's pitched and graded today. And these properties to the east have had significant flooding, not blaming it on a particular property, but with heavy rain, it's been a known occurrence in the past. So the way that the site plan improvements are proposed, there would be curb and gutter throughout the site, and then they have these areas here, you can see they stick out a little bit, where the water would exit with the new curb and gutter. Engineering has concerns that with the curb and gutter, it's forcing water to only come out in these certain areas. It'll come out strong, and they feel like it could exacerbate an existing problem. To the properties to the east. We don't obviously want to create a situation where in heavy rainfalls that problem becomes even worse. So the engineering department is recommending storm sewer along the east property line. And
Can that water drain south?
it's just pitched, I know Mr. Hawthorne's, so from over here, it is pitching to the south. But the way it's pitched this way, it's going to the east. And then,
So you guys are redoing the parking lot, right?
yep.
Is there a way to pitch it so the water, instead of going east, pitches more southerly? That's a lot cheaper than a storm sewer, right?
Yeah, I
Sheet drain into the, right?
right, today it's sheet draining and there's a problem. And, right. And we feel it's going to be even worse of a problem with the way it's designed here. The engineering department, I'm not an engineer, I'm not going to pretend to talk engineering, but they strongly recommend to alleviate an existing problem that could worsen the storm sewer along the eastern property line.
What if you put it closer to the road, if nothing else?
You don't want it pouring into the road either.
No, in that, whatever, at the bump out area. The
You
two
gotta get the-
arrows are,
I think that,
Is the engineer here for them, or the guy that can speak?
yeah, do you want me to continue with the other recommendations, or do you want to have this conversation
This is
now?
like a huge one though, right? I mean, just.
It's a huge one, yep. Yeah, I mean, we're not, no doubt, it's an
so
expensive,
you can't funnel the water to those openings.
Right.
And it can't come out at
Right.
a higher rate. The quantity can't be like that. Based
Yeah.
on the DNR and MMSD rules and all the other rules that we have with regard to stormwater.
Yeah, I'm happy to speak to that if you'd like at the end or when you're done with the review.
Okay, all right. That's an important one, so write it down.
Okay.
the retaining wall, the proposal was not to necessarily fix it, they were gonna remove the certain sections that are failing. But based off of the pictures, and the pitching and let me go back to these. Sorry, more. Here, you can see that the slope from the west, the proposal was to just remove these sections. We felt, engineering felt also strongly that dirt and that soil are just gonna eventually wash away. That there is a certain extent that retaining wall should probably be replaced rather than just simply removed. So staff's recommendation was to replace some of those sections of the retaining wall rather than simply just remove them. And then electrical conduit is running across the west property line, just definitely not to code. That should be removed along the retaining wall. And then the public hearing would be required, that would be April 18th. So the main two recommendations would be that retaining wall replacement and then the storm sewer.
No? Yes? Yeah. Guessing that conduit doesn't go anywhere, right?
From what we could tell, we don't think so. It's
Yeah. They're just
oh,
outdoor
semi-trucks are
operated
plugged in.
outlets.
Yeah.
yeah.
I'm from Sigma Group, the engineer on the project. My name is Michael. So to address the the stormwater piece first. It's still an ongoing discussion with the engineer, so we haven't come to a complete solution. We are actually looking to, depending on how tonight's meeting goes, schedule that meeting with the engineers after this, to kind of, finalize the plan. We have discussions with the DNR, specifically Pete Wood, who is probably one of the most knowledgeable DNR representatives in the area. So the reason why we designed this project where we didn't pitch everything to the south was what we were originally trying to do was keep the disturbed impacts to under 1 acre, which that triggers stormwater impacts, DNR, implementing green infrastructure. So everything from like a big bio basin to the smaller rain gardens, vegetated swales. And so what you're seeing in the shaded darker color are the areas where we're actually penetrating the subgrade, which means then that where we can actually regrade the site to the south. That's why our western half of the site is looking like that, because we can get all that water to the south. But on the east, we tried to keep that as much as we could, what we called pavement maintenance, because we're keeping the gravel base the same elevation and just repaving the asphalt section. And that's why we're not changing the grades. It is still going to flow east. The curb and gutter was a recommendation from engineering at the first hearing. We didn't originally have that on our plans. It was something we'd like to talk to the engineering department about, just, because we're adding curb and gutter, now we're going to concentrate flow. So then where we have those curb cuts, we will essentially be pushing water in these special areas, which will create these rivers downstream if we have curb cuts. So I understand that, engineering has a concern, but actually previously we weren't showing any curb and gutter, and that would probably make the problem better, just from a design and engineering standpoint, because we're not sheet flowing water in one direction.
I think the problem is that you're sheet flowing so much water in one direction, and that quantity is I think the concern. I mean,
Yeah.
the other solution is to put a storm sewer in, and that's incredibly expensive, right?
Yeah, that would, we're
So
still working on
barring a way
that.
to manage stormwater on your property, as opposed to just letting it sheet drain off on it from an impervious surface.
Mm-hmm.
That's sort of, I think, what everyone's trying to solve, right?
There's no doubt that this is a
But this doesn't
big
work.
monster project, an expensive project.
We are reducing about 35,000 square feet of asphalt from what's there existing, so we will be removing a ton.
But
you-
that didn't
but-
flow to that same spot either. then.
It basically is at the southern portion of the site. That's the majority of what we're removing.
Sorry. The problem is that's where the problems are. Yeah, if you can.
more than this? Do you want actual Google or?
Oh, that'll work, sure. So that, the real problem there is that even though you're reducing some of it, the water is going in a bad place. It's going right onto the adjacent properties, right? That's the problem.
I think they did, I don't know if it was a snow piling, but there usually is icing at that parking lot there,
At the restaurant.
at the restaurant.
Oh, I've seen
Yeah.
Jeff's been out there, like,
No, it's bad.
it's been like a foot or two of water just sitting out there.
The sheet draining right
Yeah.
into their lot, right?
So you can't reslope it because DNR will make you put a pond in.
Pond is cheaper than
Storm
putting
sewer.
a sewer in.
Well,
Yeah,
the
so
DNR
that's-
requirement's about quality. It's the NR 151. You're actually reducing hard surface, so the pond is not the problem. It's the quality, the NR 151. Yeah.
It's managing the quantity too, right? If you get the quantity in a place that kind of it'll improve the quality by its nature, but you're getting the quantity away from the restaurant, which is
And along the,
one stone.
so if you look at this and then back to the plan, we are removing about 12 feet of asphalt on the western property. That will help a little bit. I mean, it's not
Yeah,
much, but,
but it's going the
and
wrong
we're
way,
putting
right? I mean,
landscaping
the water
in.
isn't flowing that way, right?
or sorry, along the east side. Along the east side, I'm sorry. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then,
But the problem is still the water is still gonna end up where we don't want it and it shouldn't be, right, in the restaurant. And granted, that's where it is now, but this is the only time to fix it.
Yeah, and we're definitely open to, we still plan, no matter what happens, to meet with the engineering department to solve that solution. Whether it's kind of discussion with Devin, but also with the engineering department, if that's what they would prefer and that's kind of the way forward, we'll probably have to discuss that. But I think everyone's open to that.
That stormwater issue is an issue. And that's from my perspective, everything else about the project looks fantastic. I don't have an issue with it. It's so much better than it is now.
I'd give on the retaining wall for crying out loud. You're the low side, and you have room to slope it.
If you can fan out where the retaining wall is in the right spot, right? Because it's right, you can't see where that dark line. Right there, right? Where does it go further? I can't remember where it stops. I thought it went.
It's not on a property line, it's,
You're right, it's internal.
yeah. So you could make that up on your own property. Is there a fence there for the junkyard, if that's what that is? Another one?
Is that their fence or your fence?
Oh, that's that electrical. This is the wall that's not there.
And then here's the conduit lines that we were talking about. It's
Or,
just,
but the junkyard is right behind it, right?
Yeah, about 10, 20 feet, 10,
right.
10?
But this is, a little bit of the green space is your property still. That retaining wall's not on the property line. Some of the sloped area is your property as well.
I think they probably gotta fix that.
Probably about 10, 12 feet.
Remove it, slope it, re-slope it. Make it look nice. That's cheaper than a retaining wall.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, do we think that an option would be adding more green space on the east side of the building to help slow the water?
So that's an engineering calculation to determine whether or not that green space can actually absorb some of that runoff, so the drainage, so it's all quality and quantity, right? And that's, we're mostly concerned right now about the quantity. So that's like I don't know, I can't sit here and go, well, if you have a swale that's 30 by 50 or something, that's gonna catch it and clean it. I think the water has to go somewhere. It's usually not gonna just sit there and go down. It's gotta move somewhere.
Yeah.
And even if you put more grass, green space, and you can hold it there, so.
Not in spring when the ground's frozen.
Right. Well, that's the other issue, right?
Yeah.
So it's like, it doesn't always absorb. You still need to get it somewhere. And if the water continues to go east, it's gonna go into a catch basin or two. And it's gonna, it's gonna go to the storm sewer in Layton Avenue, right? I think. Which is why grading it sort of southerly is probably better. Or there can be catch basins and a sewer that goes to a pond that's in the back, but those are, again, that's expensive too, right?
Mm-hmm.
Whenever you put pipe in the ground, it's expensive, and ponds and pond maintenance are even, and it's all hassle, and none of us here want to, give you the hassle of all of that. I think initially there was some reluctance to continue to use it in an industrial fashion, so, right, but I think we've gotten past that. But the water problem does need to be solved. I think your site plan otherwise looks good, but getting the water to go somewhere where it's manageable is sort of an engineering thing. So what does that mean for you, right? I want to get into my building and I want to start fixing it.
There's a public hearing?
There's a public hearing, so
We got
there's an
little time.
opportunity. I'm guessing that the folks that are adjacent to your property will get a notice, and they'll show up and they'll be, well, that guy's constantly flooding my, what are you doing about that? This is our opportunity to kind of address those things before, there's potentially a room full of people angry at you because you're dumping all your water on their property. I mean, otherwise,
I got nothing.
So site landscaping and architectural plans, I mean, does anyone have a real concern about that?
No, I think they look good.
I think they look good. I think you've done everything that you need to except address the water issue. I agree, you can't put curb cuts in and focus, that's just not gonna work that way. That is worse than it is now. But you gotta figure that out, and I don't know how to do that.
Well,
Yeah, I think, you know, if we could, we'd like to get a conditional approval from you guys, or at least a vote, to be able to bring it to the engineering department.
Absolutely, I mean.
to
Oh, no,
discuss-
no, that's our next step, yeah.
Yeah.
So the public hearing isn't for how many days? It's, well,
April
it's
18th,
coming up,
yeah.
so that's almost a month. You know, if you guys within a month can figure out how to do it, and then you're at the public hearing, and when a neighbor shows up and starts complaining, say, no, we fixed it, right? And everybody's happy about it, but you would want to work aggressively between now and then to try to figure that out. It is going to cost some money to do.
Yeah, of course.
But this site is probably worth the investment, because if you can figure that out, you're figuring out for the next person that you sell it to potentially, right?
Yeah, I mean, no, we're definitely willing to make the investment. We want to make sure it's right. We don't want to flood anybody else's property. So.
There's just no cheap way to do.
Vision, right, it's just, okay, well, so what's the best way to do it? You know, and I think that, you know, with Sigma, I mean, they've been doing a great job so far, I think, communicating with the engineers and everybody on staff. So, I mean, I'm optimistic that we can put some kind of plan together to alleviate the water issue.
Yeah, we'll let the brilliant engineering minds figure it out.
I mean, it's just, you know, we have a rule internally that we're never the cause of a delay. The city, we don't like to be the delay of anything, right? But that doesn't mean that you can wait until the very end and just say, hey, how does this look, right? So you would want to aggressively start working on this, like even tomorrow, you know, set something up with our engineers and.
Yeah, we can do that.
Can you?
Yeah, we can do that. We can
So,
email you
I mean,
guys
I would-
right away.
I'll make
I
a
would make-
motion to approve, subject to,
Conditionally approved, subject to addressing and contingent on addressing the stormwater issue.
yeah, definitely the
water flow
stormwater issue.
to the east.
Yeah.
Okay, does that sound good?
Second.
Second by Carlson, all in favor?
aye.
All opposed, motion carries. So everything else is probably good, you gotta get rid of the conduit. The retaining wall, if you can come up with an engineering solution to potentially save money to put into the stormwater, that would be great. But don't just put in some kind of garbage or like with railroad ties or something, right? You know what I mean? It's gotta be a long-term solution that we can agree to, right?
Yeah, slope or it's
Something,
maintainable.
right? I mean, you might be able to fan it
Yeah,
or something, I don't know. I haven't looked at
and
that.
once you get this one done, you can start working on the other property.
Awesome.
Ready?
I'm ready too.
Awesome. So that's that. All in favor? Aye. We
Oh,
did
yeah,
that.
all
We
ayes.
did that, right?
Thank you.
You're all good.
All right.
See you in April.
5A and B, right?
5A and B, right? Item 6, site and architectural plans for proposed drive-up ATM located at 6205 South 27th Street. Submitted by Carolina. Are you here? She here? No. Marino, okay. They're proposing a drive-up ATM machine.
Yes, this is 27th and College, and where the new Qdoba is going here. So way up here in this, along the northern property line, they're proposing a 24/7 ATM. The project would remove 9 existing parking spaces, but this is a giant field of parking. We don't feel that that would negatively impact the property. This is the layout, so here north is at the bottom. So the vehicles would come through the parking lot and then go through the northern side of the ATM. And again, this is where it would be located. Staff does have one concern. So the ATM would be located approximately where this black vehicle is in this picture. Concerned that if vehicles are going east to west, so they're going through here, if someone decides to leave these swinging gates open at this refuse enclosure, the vehicles barely have any room to leave the ATM. So staff is asking that they just shift this over 10 feet. That should resolve the problem. Otherwise, we recommend that this item be expedited to next week's council meeting.
Just one quick thing. I'm not aware of any other standalone ATM machine in the city.
Oh.
Other than at a bank, drive up.
Well, so every bank that has an ATM has a physical presence in the community, pays property taxes. This is the cheapest way to gain entry into a community without any real investment.
And also take away from, other convenience stores that pay taxes.
Yeah.
This isn't Silicon Valley Bank, is it?
No.
No, so I'm just as a matter of policy, I'm inclined to not support it because we haven't supported it yet. I mean, I think some of the issues on the site are also concerning, having the dumpster enclosure right next to it. That fitness place does fill up,
Yeah, it does. It does.
so,
I like the idea, but it's just not enough.
At the right location.
I mean, the idea that someone doesn't have to stand out in the middle of nowhere and get mugged. They
I
can stay in the
just-
safety of their car, but I guess you can get carjacked too.
But nowadays, though, a lot of, you think about it, I mean, the convenience is, yeah, you stay in your car, but, okay, what's the downside? Is paying fees, but nowadays, banks are, I mean, waiving fees.
I mean, maybe someday it'll all be just a series of ATMs along busy streets, and there won't even be people in banks, but maybe that's in the future.
We'll use the yen.
I think as a matter of policy, it's best to, with the banks and the credit unions that invest so much in our community, and the other convenience places that have these ATMs as well, that I'm not sure it's great just to set up kiosks and
You got me sold on
ATMs
that.
anywhere. And with the personal property tax coming, I don't know if this is actually leased, so many square feet of leased space on a piece of property. They may not even pay any property taxes,
Yeah.
They may only pay rent. Right?
Mm-hmm. So there's no benefit.
Because there is no separate CSM for this. It's just leased space.
So monetary to the city is nothing.
If you guys wanted. I'll make a motion to deny it
Second.
by Kastner. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries.
It's just not
It doesn't
enough.
fit on the site for one.
Not enough structure, really.
The whole site doesn't have, there are other reasons not to do it besides the policy. The site struggles for parking now with the fitness club as it is. And cars could potentially back up at the throat of the shopping center. All right, let's see what else. 7A and B, right? Special use permit for Granny Smith Tattoo. Proposed business located at 5170 South 76th Street. This is in the My Salon.
Yep.
Isn't there another one on here too? For
There,
My
one right after 7A and B and
The other one's
8A and B.
Firefly Therapeutic Massage.
Yep.
These are all subject to the umbrella, right, of the owner of the building and their terms and conditions.
Oh, yeah.
I'd make a motion to approve both. The site plans haven't changed, they just
No.
opened. And these are essentially stalls within the site, right?
Correct.
The Firefly has
Sweets.
nothing to do with the HBO series.
I didn't ask, but
I just watched the season finale of that.
There's another one, actually. That wasn't the finale. HBO, The Last of Us?
Yeah. I
No,
thought
there's
it was-
one more.
I thought the lying to her was, did I just spoil it for you?
You might have.
Yeah, sorry. It was actually a good show.
No, I thought that was
At
the
first,
best
I
one.
didn't think it was gonna be that good. I thought it was kinda dumb.
It was getting kind of slow.
I guess that's not on the agenda, so we can't talk
Well,
about it.
Firefly was. I still haven't figured out if they're good or bad people.
Okay, so, I'd make a motion to approve 7A and B and 8A and 8B.
Second. So-
Second from Don, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. Anybody here for that? No. Were you? Do you want to say anything? If you do say something, we could reverse it. Probably best not to say. Okay, 9A and B are special use for Auto Glass Now, business located at 8333 West Layton Avenue, and the site plan review for Auto Glass Now.
I just want to mention that approve as amended, the agenda item, staff report accidentally used the word permit. It's supposed to be review, special use review, no public hearing required.
Good.
So yeah, just a new.
This is the old Welks Automotive. He wants to put an auto glass place in there. Guy's already in there now, right?
Well, no.
No, he's isn't in there and he's not operating yet, but
Are you sure?
I'm pretty sure.
As we look at the sign.
I think he's measuring.
Not even at night?
I think he's measuring things to be in there.
Oh, okay.
Does he do road, at-home service as well?
Excuse me?
Does he do remote service as well?
No, I'm not sure. I think they would be doing it, at the site.
And they certify all their
So this is.
Get
a
doodads
nationwide
and-
Chain, so, I think they have about 200 locations nationwide.
One more in Wisconsin and probably about 5 or 6 in every state.
Yeah, I think they already have one open in Pleasant
In
Prairie.
Ocean.
So this would be, I think, second in Wisconsin.
Yeah.
Okay, you want to go through it?
Just, I want to make a mention about the outdoor storage. Bilal has been working with Andrew. The firewood is already removed from the site.
Yes.
Code requires that no outdoor storage is allowed, including ice storage, vending boxes, such and such. Propane tanks obviously have to be outside. But so just to reiterate that the outdoor storage is not allowed, I believe the extra dumpster is going to be removed that wasn't within the enclosure. Otherwise, staff recommends the item be expedited to next week's council meeting.
Okay,
Yes. So the dumpster was dropped by mistake by Waste Management.
They dropped
It was
it?
supposed to be inside the enclosure, which we have, and they're working on
They just
getting.
put it where they want or what?
Yeah,
They actually-
they shouldn't have, but
thank
we're just trying to reach them so they can.
okay.
Fix
Make a
it.
motion to approve the item as presented,
I'll second.
As amended with the wording.
as
As amended with
amended,
the wording.
seconded by Braswell. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed, motion carries. Item 10 is site plan review for Foviet, an existing restaurant located at 5475 South 27th Street, submitted by Alex Gwen. It was here before, right? So there's been some stuff happening over there, right?
There has, yes. The owner has already been working on improving the sites and has submitted a site plan working with Andrew. They've obtained permits for a portion of the parking lot repaving and the 6-foot fence. So this was a chain link fence that was falling over, and he has already constructed a 6-foot high board-on-board fence along the entire west property line. Looks great. Cleaned up a lot of the overgrowth. The homeowner here to the west is happy with that. It's double-sided. And then, so the owner has submitted a 3-phase site plan to improve the back area. So all of this is to be taken care of this year in 2023. So phase 1, immediate fence replacement done, southern alley asphalt replacement here, new concrete pad, and at the northern dumpster enclosures B and C labeled on the site plan for phase 1. Phase 2, the main portion of the alley asphalt to be replaced by June 30th, and the remainder of the alley asphalt to be replaced by September 30th. Staff has recommended that landscaping be replaced by June 30th as well as part of phase 2, and I believe that there's been some communication in the works already with the city forester and the owner for that landscaping that's been missing for many years. So staff recommends that this be expedited to next week's council meeting.
Why is there such a gap between phase 2 and phase, I guess you'd say phase 3? I don't know what, the alley piece.
Guessing financial reasons.
So a fence like that is expensive per square foot. It's probably
You
$100
need
a
to stain
foot.
it though.
You just stain, no,
I
just,
think the untreated wood, I think you have to wait a year before you
Good point.
Yeah. Is that untreated though?
It looks green.
It looked like it.
it's
Looks
treated.
treated
It is treated.
to me.
Okay.
I'd make a motion to approve as presented. Thank you. I'm not sure, you Mr. Lee?
Yes.
It's been a long time. I haven't seen you in like 10 years. It looks really good.
I've looked older and you stayed the same.
No, I've gotten much older, yeah. I've declined rapidly lately, too. It's pretty bad. Aging isn't linear, it's like a cliff, you know that? I just realized that. Okay, motion was made, and is there a second? Did somebody second it by Carlson? All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Thank you very much. Item 11A and 11B, special use permit for a communications tower located at 12100 West Howard, and the site and architectural plans. Basically putting up another tower, right?
A monopole, yes,
Relative
correct.
to the other ones, it's how high?
Oh, gosh, I don't know. Well, I mean,
It's 350 feet high, that's pretty high.
150.
150?
These are 150. Are the other ones 150? They're more.
I
They're
think
a
they're
lot,
taller.
right?
They're the lattice, yeah, I'll just go to Google Maps.
I think the other ones are certainly north of 200 feet because they're lit. This one won't be lit.
Will you light it anyways or not? Don't you have to because it's in the,
Anything over 200 feet by law is required to be lit.
yeah, I think because of the flight patterns of the airport? Aren't you so,
Do you want,
So it's gonna be taller than,
I think we're outside.
it's not gonna be as tall as these ones.
okay.
We might be
There you go.
outside the height limitation zoning ordinance of the airport.
Okay. Make a motion to approve the item as presented.
oh, wait, can we talk?
Is there something bad?
Nothing
Is it,
bad.
so the height is
I
gonna
just-
be shorter than what you were showing?
I think it's shorter than,
Shorter than the radio ones, I don't know about
They're,
the
it's shorter than the radio ones,
to the
correct?
building.
I just want to make one,
Now closer to the road, too. Why'd you put it so close to the road? Why are you standing back there? Why don't you come to Mike?
there's, yeah, well, okay, so the monopole is shorter than the existing radio towers. I just want to make mention, there were some conditions in the staff report that staff had asked for paved driveway, which revised plans were received today showing an asphalt access driveway. We asked for a 6-foot tall board-on-board fence, that was also provided today. And then asked for some landscaping. They did show the 6 cypress trees in the front. Staff thinks that we could get a little bit more landscaping around the fence because, again, this pole is in the front of the building, so it's pretty close. In comparison to the other towers, it's going to be visible, so we're asking for some more landscaping. But the other conditions have been taken care of, and this would require a public hearing. So we'll have neighbors, yeah,
We're gonna have people.
special use permit
Can't
for,
go outside for a while then.
So is there a
so,
reason why it's so close?
Yes, so I have a picture to sort of show the existing AM towers that are behind the building and alongside the building are actually, there's a significant ground grain
Got it.
underneath on each one. And it's actually part of the antenna in the grounding system.
I think for the minutes, we need you
Oh,
speaking
I'm
at the
sorry.
microphone.
I'm sorry.
So you can hear.
But this gives you an idea of just where.
And
There's
can you
a ring
state,
around, what you're saying is, Paul, there's a ring, a
Ring of-
radius around it.
Wires that are
Yes.
underground.
can you state your name too,
Yes,
please?
sure.
Thank you.
My name is Michael Long. I'm here on behalf of the applicant. And that diagram, those red circles are actually grounding cables and part of the antenna system that's underground.
But you can't overlap with it.
We can't go anywhere near those things. no.
Basically guy wires, like
Guy
all
wires,
over,
too.
all over the place, yeah.
That's a good point. Is this Dish Network?
Well, yes, the tower, the initial tenant on this tower will be for Dish Network's wireless communication system. It's not the home video system or services. This is more of a handheld phone and data system.
So are they going into the mobile space?
Yes. Yeah, as a result of the merger between T-Mobile and Sprint, for competitive purposes, the federal government said, well, we need to have a fourth carrier, national carrier emerge, and it's Dish Network.
Which is owned by AT&T.
Dish Network, no, DirecTV is owned by AT&T. Dish Network's
Not anymore.
owned by itself.
Yeah.
They got rid of it.
Yeah, they were, AT&T was spinning off DirecTV, if I'm not mistaken, correct?
Discovery Network. They dumped all the debt onto the spin-off and
Yeah.
Bye-bye.
18 gated?
Yeah.
Yeah.
With this project, are you gonna replace the dead trees that are further that way, I think? No, that way?
I'm sorry, which ones?
Are they leasing the space from,
They're,
No, why does this picture look so good? Some of these are dead. They're pine trees, though.
You can tell they're dying.
Yeah.
okay. Well, I mean, I can talk to the owner about that, certainly.
so you're leasing, you're not getting a CSM for this, right? You're leasing space?
We're leasing space from iHeartMedia, who, the owner of the property.
iHeartMedia?
Oh, I
That
heard.
they own,
Okay.
WISN.
Is the special use is being attached to the entire property, and just like with the, well, you don't know about the grocery store, or the glass place, so the owner of the property is responsible for all this stuff, right?
Right, and I think is one of the conditions, the special use gets recorded on the property, if I'm not mistaken.
That's
Yeah.
right. It follows the land, so anything that's on this entire big piece of property, we can essentially look at and say, you need to do that.
I'm not gonna get into the idea that they can't park any of their vehicles outside of that big thing, because that was 30 years ago that they promised they wouldn't do that.
That was somebody else who was that back then?
Okay, it wasn't 30, it was 25.
Even then, right?
Yeah.
The ownerships have changed so.
Oh,
often.
that way, yeah. I think it was Clear Channel still, wasn't it? Anyhow.
I suspect.
Landscaping
I
and
suspect in
everything.
20 years, all of these sites will be very valuable pieces of property, and all these towers will come down.
That's what we thought 20 years ago.
But it's getting even more so, right?
So where the town, okay, but then where are you gonna go? Where's all the communications gonna go? It's gonna all be, what?
It'll be fiber.
Yes.
It is baffling why we have 5G and then this one's coming old style.
Because they're artificially creating competition for T-Mobile and Sprint
Artificially,
by creating a fourth carrier,
yeah. Artificially, yeah.
arguably. Some could say, that you would say that.
Yeah.
So there's a public hearing, so
Right.
as long as they meet all of the property requirements, I mean, I don't know,
That picture was.
there were drainage issues out there that were taken care of a long time ago, right?
Yeah, actually, we paid for part of that too.
But it was.
It was taken care of, they allowed us access, they allowed us drainage, yes, there is drainage, they have to maintain that. The landscaping on the berm has few things that has died, but, I mean, these are all nitpicking, I mean,
But this is the time to get the
Time to get
property
it done.
owner, because now they have a deep pocket.
yeah, and the tree line, well, they're gonna get money, the tree line has some issues that have fallen trees that are, you know,
Should walk the property. No offense, we have to walk the property, so, okay?
just don't run into a guy with his dog.
Oh, he'll talk forever. That's you, right?
It must be,
You can tell it's the reckless dog that's just going like this and
he's not
barking.
even on
That's
a
his
leash
dog.
there.
Not even on a leash. We have a leash law. Don't ever admit
I
that.
know, it's a private property.
I have to. I have a duty to ticket you
Oh,
now,
yeah, next time, ticket me.
so.
You couldn't catch the dog last
So,
time.
I mean, I guess the public hearing is gonna be, I'd make a motion to approve the item, subject to the results of the public hearing, obviously, right?
Yep.
So, is there a second by Krantz? All in favor?
And keep an understanding that landscaping needs to be
Yes,
relooked at.
some of the stuff that
Yep.
clearly the staff comments are important. I suspect the neighbors will be very upset that there's a pole in the front yard.
How many neighbors are there around there?
Quite a few, because it goes around the entire property. She had the map, see that? So it's within how many feet of,
400 feet?
It's 400 feet within.
Not
Excuse me,
from the
400,
tower.
400 feet from the property line. It's gonna be a lot of,
Yeah, that's pretty close.
it's gonna be a lot of people.
there's gonna be,
Yeah, there's one that I can think of that I'm really close to that's gonna have a problem with it.
I wonder if Andrew created it already.
bridge.
And there's no way to push it back, there's no way to.
That would make her more mad.
No, we looked at all that and, in working with the property owner and their understanding of the ground rings that are in the, that are a part of each tower. That's in the AM field, which is behind the building. They've said that they don't want us back there.
Well, that's different. Don't want you back there versus can you be back, you know what I mean?
Well,
Is it
they're,
physically possible to be back there?
All things considered, I think this is the least obtrusive spot for it.
Yeah, I would think so. I mean, honestly, that's probably
If
true.
it's gonna go anywhere, it could go there. As long as the front might be landscaped even
Yep.
more than what they're showing, I hide the road, hide the bottom base stuff, and
yeah, I don't think we have we can work with staff, Andrew, to get the landscape piece fixed.
yeah.
I don't like it, period.
Motion was made and seconded. Did we vote on this already?
Yeah.
All
Not
in
yet.
favor? Aye. Opposed, motion carries. I mean, it's subject to the public hearing,
Yeah.
right? So, all
Okay.
Okay, thank you.
right, thank you.
It'd be really nice if they cut the grass better, so I wouldn't have to go through the shit.
All right, community manager report, right?
Yes, I was just gonna look, oh,
Yeah, one thing I do want to,
FNF.
there's one thing I do want to say about that, that it needs to be in the record, and it was part of the minutes.
are we
or
talking
part of-
about 11?
I'm going
Sorry.
back to 11, yeah.
Okay, all right,
So
all
the important part is a recorded deed with the Milwaukee County Register of Deeds to remove the tower within 12 months of the discontinuance
Mm-hmm. Oh,
of its
yes.
use. That's an important one.
Yep.
Yes, that's not a problem.
Okay.
Yep.
All right.
So it's gonna be up a year and then come back down?
No, it's not going to be up before. 5 years. 12, Community Development Managers Report. I bet. Give you 5 years.
Yeah.
All right, okay. Is there anything?
Yes, just want to mention, let me pull up ARC map, thank you. Where am I? 99th.
You have an obligation to have those up, isn't it?
It's
By
hard.
state statute.
Telecommunication towers are usually pretty hard to fight.
So to orientate yourself, got 84 South here, go a little bit further west, and we got Layton Avenue Baptist Church. There's some condos that you probably just drive right by without seeing because there's a lot of trees in the front, and then the State Farm Insurance office building. So there's land back here that has never been developed, and Horizon has an offer to purchase to develop. Oop, come on. I think it's if I remember right, 38 unit, 3-story senior, and then 7 side-by-side townhomes. This would be a WEDA, Wisconsin Housing Economic Development Association tax credit project. And so they're going to bring a conceptual plan before the Plan Commission next month. So I just want to give you a heads up on that.
Who did you say was doing it?
Horizon,
Oh, okay.
NAF Middle Eastern Grill is going to go where Dickie's Barbecue is supposed to go next to Five Guys. And, who else is in there? There's a vet and an eyeglass, 76 in Holmes.
Yep.
So they're going to take the last,
Taking 5
yeah,
years.
because Dickie's never went in. Dickie's
Oh.
Barbecue, she just kind of disappeared. So this is, they called themselves the Qdoba of Middle Eastern food. So it's a chain, it's a nationwide chain.
Okay, not too bad. The one in Berkeley, okay.
I think, you've been to one?
Yeah,
Okay,
it's not terrible, I mean,
it's not terrible, okay. All right.
There's a resounding,
well, I mean, I've had authentic
yeah,
food,
gotcha.
so-
Club Car Wash, that was Highway 100 in Beloit, they have officially walked away. And that's about it for coming up.
Have you heard anything about the Korean restaurant that was gonna go on Old Country Buffet?
Yes, I think they have permits.
Do they? Okay, slowly moving.
Okay.
Yep.
Spring Mall's still not?
Coyotes?
No, nothing on Spring Mall. I mean, that's just a matter of Brixmore
Yeah, you're-
cooperating. Mm-hmm.
Okay, that's it. Cafe Hollander is supposed to be
Yeah.
like 60, 90 days. They were supposed to start, so I think in spring, that's when that gets moving along, right?
Good.
Yeah, I think that we will see in May Plan Commission. I think May Plan Commission, they're going to bring the middle open, the
Oh, wow.
a green space back to the Plan Commission.
Okay.
Awesome. All right. I'd enter, that's it?
Yes.
Anything else from anybody? Entertain a motion to adjourn. It's roughly 7 o'clock right now. It's by Carlson,
Second.
by Commissioner Kranz. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries.